Hey YouTube, it's Dimitri, and today we're going to talk about why professionals don't take calls, and we're also going to dive into a little bit about how you should be approaching professionals, and why, figuring out how to contact them and why to contact them, and what are you trying to get out of the interaction. So let's just dive on in. Okay, so I'm going to provide a list of reasons on why professionals don't take calls. All it takes realistically is one of these bad interactions to occur, and I've experienced every single one of these fairly frequently because I have so much contact with so many different people. But in general, all it takes is one bad interaction, and for a professional, there's really not a lot of upside on a lot of these contacts. So for them, it's like you're a student or you're another professional, but you're reaching out to me because you need something or you want something, and I've already had all these bad experiences, I've been burned, it's just not worth my time. This happens a lot, so please do not take this personally. I'm sure it's had another experience with somebody else, or perhaps you're not approaching the situation correctly, and we'll talk about that at the end. But let's just dive on into exactly some of these bad scenarios here. So the number one reason, which I think is the most reasonable reason not to take calls, interviews, or even to respond to anyone on LinkedIn, is simply because professionals have lives. They're busy. I don't think a lot of students understand this. I certainly did not. I remember writing up all these professionals asking for tips and tricks and advice and informational interviews, for example, and doing everything very professionally and correct. And yet I wouldn't get a lot of responses back, and I somewhat took it personal and I just need half hour, 15 minutes, I just need a little bit of time with you. I just need some help. I just need some advice. But at the end of the day, you have to realize they're super busy. And what I mean by this is, okay, they have a full-time job. We all get that and understand that. But as you get older, things get more complicated. Most of these people have spouses. They're married. They have kids. They might be going through a divorce. They might have a family member who's dying. They have hobbies, they have friends, they have other events, work events, like after-hour work events and networking events they're going to. So perhaps you're part of an organization like GARP or FRM or CFA or something like that. But at the end of the day, when you get older, life just gets messier and you have more stuff to do and more responsibilities. And sometimes the last thing you really want to do or are willing to do is respond to people online, especially people you have no idea who they are and essentially no reason to help them. And I'll note this a lot because a lot of people don't speak out. So even I've had colleagues who are going through really rough times, the death of a family member, the death of a child, a divorce, legal battles, other issues that are just occurring on the side, visa issues. It's not fun. And then when you have random people who need things, it's just really more of a burden than a help. Number two, though, is that they don't feel qualified to provide you career advice. And a lot of people just feel like they are lucky. So when I was going through as a student, interviewing lots of professionals, trying to figure out what route to take, what path to take, what should I do, what degree should I get, what classes should I take, right? People just would blatantly tell me I was just lucky. I don't know. I just ended up here. And so I think a lot of times professionals don't want to answer or respond because they don't know what to tell you. I was lucky and I don't have any advice for you. That's just how life is. So that's kind of the second reason. The third reason is going to play into this a little bit. The third one is that they don't want blame for your failures or responsibility for the advice they give. So a lot of people say, yes, I know. It's just an opinion. I'm okay with that. But the issue is there are some people that don't think it's an opinion, they think it's a fact. And there are many people, which I'm sure some of you would be surprised, that think there's a secret route. There's this secret, prestigious route, and if you know the right people and you do the right things, you're guaranteed in. That's not how it is at all. But some people think this. And then a lot of times I've even provided advice to people and had people come back upset. Dimitri, you recommended X, Y, and Z, and this was terrible, and I didn't get the job. It's your fault that, I didn't do this. If I would have done this differently and I would have done it my way, I would have, came out on top and been a winner. Again, a lot of professionals just don't want to take responsibility. They don't want the blame. They don't want the complaints. Again, the vast majority of people that contact you aren't like this, but it just takes one or two of these and you're just done kind of interacting with people. And finally, number 4 here is going to be you are too aggressive and you are contacting them in an inappropriate manner. So this is super common, far more common than I would like to admit here. Number one, don't ask for a job. I absolutely hate this. And people dogpile on, trying to state like, oh, you should just help all these students and stuff. It's like, that's great for you. Like you're saying that. I'm sure the people that are saying like, oh, you should just provide all this help and give people jobs. You've A, never been a manager. And B, you've never actually had to hire someone. So when you hire someone, you get thousands of requests and you have to pick one person. Right? It's just one person. And the vast majority of professionals don't have a job opening when you contact them, even if they do hire. And on top of that, the majority of people are actually people who are not in positions to be hiring. So surprise, you're asking someone to do something they can't do, so they're not going to respond because it's a waste of their time. So be cognizant of that. Don't ask for jobs. If you want to ask for a job and you think they have an opening, provide evidence or proof. Like, oh, I heard, Goldman Sachs is hiring and I saw you worked at Goldman Sachs. Do you happen to know like what they're looking for this position, right? Leave it open-ended so they can exit professionally and not have to tell you, no, I'm not going to hire you because you're not qualified, which leads me to my second point here, which is don't ask questions I either can't answer or can't answer positively. So that's an example. Like if you don't leave it open-ended, like you're like, I heard you're hiring, I want an interview. That doesn't leave me much space to give you a positive answer of saying, I'm sorry, but you're not qualified. Like I could say that, but if you're someone who's already aggressive enough to ask for it, these people are going to be argumentative with you. Like, oh, I have 3+ years of experience working in, I don't know, retail, and that's awesome, and that's great fit, and I could be a perfect, and they'll like go on and on and on, like badgering you to convince you that it's going to be an amazing fit. And you already know from the application list of like 300 people that have already applied, you're already having like all-stars and rock stars that you want to interview. And so when people ask for things, again, when you don't see the full picture and you put pressure on people, they just don't want to interact with you and they don't want to respond. And then also another example of this is just the worst one I consistently get is, Dimitri, I am just like you. Why am I not successful? Why do I not have a job? It's like, well, I could analyze you and I could tear apart all of your failures. But at the end of the day, A, it's not going to help you out. And B, you clearly aren't looking for a real answer because you should go to my LinkedIn profile and look at me and be like, wow, your degree's not the same. Your school's not the same, right? Like, try to like look at it and do the work. The people that are asking these ridiculous questions that are aggressive and kind of inappropriate, it's not as if someone's asking this in a sincere manner. If it's sincere and you have, again, evidence and support and allow them like an easy exit answer, you're more than welcome to ask reasonable questions. But the people that are going to be argumentative, which is the third point inside of here, are people that are just looking to essentially get like confirmation bias. Like I've had people email me and say, Dimitri, I'm looking at 2 schools. School A, School B. And I'll say, I really don't like to rank programs because, it's really hard to tell from the curriculum, and especially if, let's say, you're in a different country, for example. So I really have no idea how good the schools are. I don't know the curriculum. I really can't provide you like a reasonable answer on this. Dimitri, please answer the following question. I really want to know which one I should go to, and yada, yada, yada. It's going to cost me all this money and time. So I feel somewhat obligated. So, of course, now I fold and buckle, and I say, fine. All right, out of program A and program B has more statistics, mathematics, and computer science. You can tell they're all in, like, I don't know, say the math department or the stats department. It's a really good school from what I can see. Again, I don't really know, but I would go with B. A seems a little weaker because it's a semester shorter and it's basically a bunch of traditional finance classes. If you want to do quantitative finance, I'd go with program B. And then they jive in and they go, Dimitri, program A is clearly better than program B. I think I should go to program A. So what do you do at that point, right? Sure, go to program A. Like I usually try to educate and say, well, and try to like rebuttal a little bit to give you maybe some clearer sight. But there's always these people that do this, and what I end up doing, I just buckle, right? It's the easy way out. Yeah, sure, program A would be an awesome rock star program. You would be a top quant. You would have literally no math understanding, but go for it, right? So you just buckle because you just want to get out of the situation. So again, don't argue with people. Don't ask someone a question when you already know the answer or you want a specific answer. Like that's just not polite and not good etiquette for contacting people. And that leads to the final point here in the number 4 bucket, which is acting like you know everything. I hate this in interviews. I hate this when people contact me. Do not contact me and like pretend you know everything and you're an expert. And a lot of people do this thinking that like they're going to email me and show me like how smart they are and they're going to get a job offer from me. No, what ends up happening is I'm like, wow, I've had, I don't know, all my educational experiences, all of my work experience, all of my personal studying, all of my academic textbooks, right? I've been doing this for years, and a lot of the areas I'm an expert on. You're not going to know as much as I'm going to know, and I'm not going to be impressed by you telling me how great you are, right? I don't want someone that strokes their own ego and thinks that they're amazing. I'm looking for a hard worker. I'm looking for character and personality. Things you can't really just say like, hey, I'm a hard worker, because everyone's going to say that. But again, don't be a know-it-all in an interview. Don't be a know-it-all in the profession. And if I don't know the topic and you're telling me all this great stuff, I'm not going to believe you because you're a student. I'm looking for academic proof and papers. And at the end of the day, I'm not hiring. I never asked you to submit anything. And now you're like emailing me, telling me all about these things you're doing. Like, that's great, but I can't help you, right? Again, going back to the other ones, I don't have a job to give you. And if I was going to interview hundreds of people, I'm not just going to look at one or two people. So again, that's how not to contact professionals. This is why a lot of professionals just don't respond, okay? The main one, like I said, probably 90% of the time, it's just because they're too busy. A lot of people would like to be more involved. It's just hard to be involved. For people that are bigger, though, number of requests is a huge burden. So I'm going to throw this out there. I love being on YouTube. I love being on LinkedIn. I love when people contact me and we have meaningful conversations. Like, it's great, right? It benefits you. It's exciting and stimulating for me. It's a win-win. But a lot of times, for example, like I've stopped taking phone calls for the most part. There are always exceptions to these, but they're rare. The reason being is for me to sit down at my computer when I have free time is now taking me around 8 hours per week. Okay, I'm not responding to any old videos or any old posts. So this is only new comments on new videos and messages through LinkedIn, Instagram, and sometimes Twitter. So that's the third one. But that's 8 hours a week of my time. So that's like a full work day now where I have to sit down and just do responses and answering questions, right? People that are more famous are going to have more requests. Again, sometimes we're busy. Like I mentioned, right? We have other things we're doing, other comments we're answering. Sometimes I forget and it goes unnoticed. And that leads me to politely responding. If you want to follow up with someone, I say follow up one additional time and then just call it done. So a lot of times you message me, I see it, I'm like, oh, awesome, I need to respond, but I also need to think about this because I want to give you pretty good advice. And so to do that, I have to stop and think. And so what ends up happening is I'm in the middle of, I don't know, doing work, or I'm in the middle of like family time or doing something else, and I see your question and I want to think about it. So then I'm like, all right, I'll answer it later. And then I get like 5, 6 other messages, and all of a sudden your message goes from the top and it starts going down the chain. I no longer see it. I forget, or I wake up at 2 a.m, sometimes remembering, and then sometimes I try to like jump on and answer real quick, or if not, I will, try to remember to get up in the morning and remember again to do it. But again, if you respond with a follow-up like, hey Dimitri, I was wondering about X, Y, and Z, don't mention like you commented before, like, oh, I've already emailed you and you never responded. That's just rude. Just send either the same email a second time, or send a follow-up just saying, hey, I wanted a few questions answered. Like, would you have a few minutes to talk about this? Or would you have, an answer to this question? Be specific. So that's that. That's how not to contact people. People are busy, lots of requests, all that jazz. And then we're going to talk here just about how to email people specifically. Send a polite email with an ask, okay? If you want to add someone on LinkedIn, it is always helpful to give them like a reason, like, hey, Dimitri, I want to connect. I watch your YouTube channel. If you say that, I will just add you because, right, you're part of my YouTube channel. You're part of my group here, right? I want to interact with you. But if you just add me, I usually add you if you have some relevance and background, or like, for example, you might have like on your job title, like, I don't know, grocery store clerk. And then I'll open your profile to look, and I'm like, oh, they're going to school for finance or for financial engineering or computational finance or stats or something like that. And so I'm like, all right, awesome, right? You're watching my videos, you didn't mention it, but I'm going to give you an ad. If you add me and you work for like Fiverr, if you don't know what Fiverr is, it's a company that does like logos and, I don't know, quick little pieces for content creators. I get spammed constantly with nonsensical garbage for people wanting to help me with YouTube and charge me all this money for this, this great value added, but you can't really help. I get lots of these, just spams constantly. Do not spam me. It's irritating. But again, I'll add most of you because I want to connect. I want to be helpful. I want to be a part of your community as well as you being a part of our community here as Fancy Quant on YouTube. Anyways, but asking for the polite email, have a specific ask. An example. I'll give you an example here of what I would have sent when I was younger and what I still send now when I'm looking for advice from somebody. So an example would be, my name is Dimitri and I am a student at the University of Michigan. I'm working on my master's in financial engineering and risk management and was wondering if you would have the time for an informational interview about your career. And you can add something like, I'm interested in the risk management side and I see that you work in risk management. I'm just trying to understand the industry a bit better. And then put your name at the bottom, like sincerely Dimitri Bianco, or sincerely, I don't know, whatever your name is. But again here, something nice, something polite. You have the ask. Like, you're asking for an informational interview. I know exactly what you want, what you need. If you email me and put, hello, Dimitri. Like, what do you want me to do? Like, hi? Like, I've done that before. I've responded back, hi. Like, I don't know what you want. If you give me an ask and it's very specific, it's very straightforward for me to say, yes, I can help you. No, I can't. If it's a polite email, a lot of people will just send a quick response like, hey, I'd love to, but I'm just too busy. Some of them might ignore you because of all the reasons we've talked about, or in general, they've had just bad experiences with all those reasons. And so they just don't really want to be involved in, LinkedIn and all that. Some people just don't use LinkedIn, I didn't mention, but they don't use it. So when you message them, they don't see it. It might be a year later. But a lot of people, if you send a nice, polite, professional email, again, with an ask, not asking for a job, they'll respond and give you a polite, like, yeah, could you do it at this time or that time? Something else just to wrap this whole thing up quickly. Another reason why it's so challenging for me to take calls, and I think it's the same for other professionals, is that you want to take a call, let's just say half an hour, which is pretty short. You know me, I can talk for like an hour or two. But you want to take a half an hour call, that's awesome, let's do it. But the issue is when you get so many requests, it's hard to schedule them. And even when you just have one request for the week, I might schedule you and say, all right, I'm going to be working from 9 to 5. I'll be off. I'll be home by 6. I'll take it at 6:30. And then the student says, yeah, it works. Let's do 6:30. And then all of a sudden on that day, like at 4 o'clock, I find out I have to stay late to finish, a project. And then I'm at work till 6:30 or 7. As soon as I find out, like at 4, I'm usually emailing these people saying, hey, can we remove it to tomorrow, let's say at noon. I'll do it on my lunch break. Give me plenty of time. And then tomorrow at noon comes, and then it's like, man, I hate to move it again. But now I have a meeting at noon because now I'm meeting with the New York office, and that's 1 o'clock their time, so they don't really care. It's my lunchtime. And then you're trying to shuffle things around. It can be a nightmare of scheduling, and I've even scheduled podcast interviews. So I'm all excited. It's after work or it's on a Saturday, and then just something comes up and I just can't do it. So it's just hard. Professional schedules are very rapid and dynamic, and one day I might have a ton of free time and think I'm going to have it, and it's awesome, and you can take calls, and then the next day you might be slammed, and you have no idea you're going to be slammed until you get to work, and then everything melts down. So anyways, those are my tips and tricks. That's how you should not contact people, with a whole list of reasons why they don't do it. Again, be professional. If you're professional and polite and you do it in a nice professional manner, you'll have a lot higher success rate. Again, have a very specific ask. Why are you contacting us, right? Why are you contacting me? That's important. Anyways, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And as always, until next time.